Welcome back, Garden Geeks, to Ginny's Garden Shenanigans. I'm here with my brother Rick in his beautiful garden oasis. We are totally protected right now from squirrels and deer inside of this fabulous structure. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about what goes into his garden beds here, what he's planting here in the spring planting cycle here in South Texas, and then also what he does with his irrigation, because he actually moves his irrigation around every single time he plants in order to get the plants the right type of moisture that they need based on what he's planting. And he uses a really simple system that you can actually pick up at our friends from Sprinkler Warehouse. So tell us first, there's this crazy German word, right?
Yes.
For the planting, the soil layering.
It's hugelkultur, and what the process refers to is it's a system, and they can actually do it at grade, but it's more preferred for raised gardening. And what you start with is some old dead wood, which I have an abundance of out here. And so when I first built the planters and had them all constructed, we lined them with polyethylene to keep the moisture out from leaching into the cedar. And then I began building this hugelkultur system. And so what it consists of is found wood that had been dead for a couple of years out there rotting away, and then layered the entire bottom of the planters with that wood. Then came over it with a layer of sandy, silty soil. Then over that, per the hugelkultur criteria, then over that a layer of straw. And then I was probably 20 inches below the top, and from that point up we did what's called a vegetable mix, which is a third sand, a third soil, and a third organics like mushroom core or something like that. I found a really good product I've been happy with, and then I also introduced earthworms into the garden after I had completed all the soil construction. So.
And the earthworms really help to integrate it all, is that right?
Absolutely. It's, soil is basically earthworm poop.
The soil is earthworm poop.
Absolutely. So the better that they process through your garden, the richer your soil becomes.
Wow.
So I added 300 or 400 of them. They're in here. And so what we do is, this is the spring garden that I'm planting at this point, and what you have to do in terms of raised gardening is you need to rotate your crop, so to speak. So where I've had tomatoes, this season we want to put peppers. You don't want to redo the tomatoes in the same spot, because even though you've removed the roots, there's still some organics in the soil that would not be complementary to recycling tomatoes. They don't recycle well. So you move them to a new location. So last year I had cucumbers over in this corner, and now I'm moving those cucumbers over to that side. And I'm now introducing peppers over here. We've got some red bell peppers, and then we got some harvest peppers that I really love for the salads. So I'm going to plant the peppers along here, the tomatoes along the front of the garden. And then this year a little bit differently, I had peppers all in this area here. I'm still going to introduce a couple of peppers, but I'm actually planting my herbs into the raised garden as opposed to keeping them in the pots. I think they'll be a little happier doing that. As you can see, Rosemary's already enjoying being in this spot, and he's only been there a couple of days. So
yeah, I find that rosemary does much better not in a pot.
Yeah,
I find that it likes to be in the ground, or in this case, in the bed. And basil as well. You guys can't see back here, but there's a basil plant back here, and I find that too. I find that neither one of them does very well in a pot. Yeah.
So I'll demonstrate, the typical planting sequence with the fertilization, and then I'm going to repeat it for all the plants, which I'm sure you probably don't want to see me do every one of them, but we'll start with one. We're going to start with this harvest pepper plant, and then what I'll do is I'll get me a good bed spot right here where I want to plant it. Get down just deep enough where it's going to match the surface, and things compress down. So you have to add a layer of soil every year. This year I added 3 yards in here, which was quite a bit. So this is all new vegetable mix. I can already see that earthworms are starting to integrate into it, which is a very good sign. So now I've dug down to the ball where I need to be for the level of the plant. And what I'm going to introduce is, first of all, I'm going to introduce the magnesium, which is just Epsom salts. Just about a handful of it down there at the base. And then the next thing I'm going to introduce is just a little bit of Osmocote. It's coated so that it over time, it leaches into the soil and provides ongoing nutrition. So just a tablespoon of Osmocote at the base. And then here's the magic stuff that we talked about, which is the Microlife. I have some in the bucket. Again, because it's an organic product, if you don't keep it in a sealed bucket, it will actually pick up the moisture and rot. So this is the Microlife, how it looks in its organic form. And like I said, you can use this liberally, so I'll introduce quite a bit in the base there. And now we're ready to set the plants, just that easy. What I do is I take my labels and I put them along the back wall so that I can remember which particular plant is sitting there. Pop it out of its pot. And then what you want to do is you want to break up the root ball a little bit. This is kind of gardening 101, so that it has a chance, if it's become root bound, to go ahead and grow into the new soil. So you just take your hand and kind of break the little root system up a little bit like that. Set it there at grade. Bring your soil back in by hand. And then once I get all of the plants planted this way, I'll come back over the top and do some at surface fertilization, and then we'll be ready to irrigate.
Awesome. I love it. All right, guys, so we're gonna get these plants in the ground and then actually join us. You can join us for the next segment where we're going to come back in with some irrigation. But we're gonna get these plants in here and get them all fertilized and ready to go. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.